Escalating tension in Karnataka over the hijab row. Karnataka High Court will resume hearing on the issue in just a short while from now. Well, this morning, the state government convened a cabinet meeting and reaffirmed their stand that hijab should not be allowed and uniform is mandatory for everyone in educational institutions. The state education minister asserted that there will be no compromise on law and order. Remember, schools and colleges in the state are shut for 3 days over this matter.
We are not for hijab or kesari. We are not, government is not for anybody. The only dress code, that only we can allow in the classrooms. In the street, they can wear whatever they want. In the schools, dress code is compulsory. Who will violate, 100% the education department will take action. It's not a general protest. It is a student protest, 2 parties. So that's why precautionary measure, we are 3 days, we stop the colleges.
After a disturbing video of a Muslim student in burqa being heckled by a group of saffron-clad students, that video that went viral, the girl student in the video, Muskan, has described the turn of events. She says that hijab is a priority for her.
High-Court order ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು
ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಕರ್ದಲ್ಮ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್
ಅಲ್ಲ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಬಂದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಪಾಲಿಸ್ತೀರಾ ಒಂದ್ ವೇಳೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ತೆಗಿಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಏನಾದರೂ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಬಂದ್ರೆ
ಪಾಲಿಸ್ತೀವಿ ತೆಗಿಯಕ್ಕಂತೂ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಆ ಪ್ರಿಯಾರಿಟಿ ವಿ ಕಾಂಟ್ ಗೋ ಫಾರ್ ಇಟ್.
So that was Muskan. She's the girl in the Mandya video, the video that's playing out on your screens right now. She parks her scooty, she walks into the campus, and that is when a bunch of men actually shout slogans at her. She shouts back her slogan as well. So there you see the girl out there, and later on when she was asked about what happened, she said that she was being heckled and she responded to the heckling bravely. And of course, she also said that hijab is a priority for her, something that she just cannot give up and succumb to. Neha Ibale joining us live. Neha, this is of course now taking a tremendous proportion. It has spread across other states as well. What has the Karnataka government decided? We will of course track the court proceedings, but in terms of how the state is handling the situation on ground, what can you tell us?
Yes, Afrida, for now it seems like the Karnataka High Court, of course, is hearing the matter. The hearing has begun. So till the time that concludes, the state government would not really be in a position to take a decision on allowing uniforms or allowing hijabs or allowing saffron shawls or any accessory for that matter. But as far as the situation on ground is concerned, we must tell you that Section 144 was imposed already in Davangere district as well as in, Shimoga district as well. Parts of the district where we saw slight violence yesterday. Now, as far as, the Karnataka's cabinet meeting was concerned, the Chief Minister had called for a cabinet meeting. However, there wasn't really any strong decision that was taken in that meeting with regard to the hijab row. Let's tell you that a very careless statement coming in here by the Karnataka Law and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Madhuswamy, where he said that the state government had not anticipated a situation like this. Let's tell you that from day one, from the day that Mirana has been reporting on this issue on ground, where 8 girls, in fact, from Udupi district, in fact, who were protesting outside their college, how multiple rounds of talks have failed. We've tracked it at every stage, established how the Udupi MLA over there, Raghupati Bhatt, of course, had failed to hold successful talks either with the students or with the parents or with the faculty, the teachers for that matter. And this has escalated over time, Afrida. This is not something that has just snowballed over a period of 1 or 2 days. It's over a span of 7 weeks that we're seeing how the issue has slowly spread to various parts of Karnataka. And after it's now, in fact, gone out of control, the government over here being forced to issue a 3-day holiday for schools and colleges in order to ensure that a law and order situation doesn't really arise. The government has also imposed Section 144. Could this have been avoided is what we posed to the Home Minister and the Law Minister, and both of them very casually stating that the government had not anticipated a situation like this.
Yes, clearly they had not anticipated, and now as a damage control, as a precautionary measure, schools and colleges are shut. Now that would mean, Neha, that as it is pandemic-induced closures have happened, there's been a disruption to the academic calendar. Now this, again, there's another disruption here. How are students, the other students, responding to this? Everybody is now facing the brunt because of few elements who created trouble, and it has escalated.
You're absolutely right, Afrida. There were several warning signs ahead of the government, right from the fact that the students in Udupi district said that they would not withdraw their protest. That was the first red flag. Following that, we saw how in a few colleges, in a few pockets of the state, we saw saffronization where students were turning up in saffron shawls. That was the second red flag. The third being the fact that it escalated when we saw a standoff between students clad in hijabs and students in saffron shawls. Despite multiple warning signs, despite, in fact, several people, of course, also, bringing it to the notice of the government, be this parents, be it students, despite that, all of this was set aside, all of this was ignored. And today, we've ended up in a situation where thousands of students across the state of Karnataka are having to bear the brunt of a few fringe elements, wherein, of course, the hijabs as well as the saffron shawls over here not being permitted on campus.
Stay with us, Neha. More breaking news coming in. While accusing the Congress of instigating the students over the issue of hijab, Karnataka minister has made a controversial statement where Sunil Kumar, State Energy Minister, has said that if the Congress comes to power, they may even introduce a law that would mandate Hindus to wear hijab. Let's listen in.
ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಅವತ್ತು ಇದನ್ನ ಬಹಳ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಪ್ರಮಾಣದಲ್ಲಿ ದ್ವೇಷವನ್ನು ಹಚ್ಚುವಂತ ಮತ್ತು ಕಾಲೇಜು ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳ ನಡುವೆ ಇದನ್ನ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಪ್ರಮಾಣದಲ್ಲಿ ದ್ವೇಷವನ್ನು ಉಂಟು ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನವನ್ನ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಅವತ್ತು ಮಾಡಿತ್ತು, ಇವತ್ತು ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಯಾರು ಈ ದೇಶದ ಪ್ರತ್ಯೇಕತೆಯನ್ನ ಬಯಸ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತವರನ್ನ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಕೂಡ ಬೆಂಬಲಿಸಿಕೊಂಡೇ ಬಂದಿದೆ. ಸ್ವಾತಂತ್ರ್ಯ ಹೋರಾಟದ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ದೇಶ ವಿಭಜನೆಗೆ ಇದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತ ವಿಭಜಕ ಶಕ್ತಿಗಳ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ನಿಂತಿದ್ದು. ಇದೊಂದು ಸಂಪ್ರದಾಯ ಇದೆ. ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ನಡುವೆ, ಶಾಲೆಯ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ನಡುವೆ ಸಮಾನತೆ ಇರಬೇಕಾಗಿರುವಂತದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಕಲಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಾದ್ರೆ ಮುಂದೆಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಅದನ್ನ ಕಲಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಮಗೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಜನಾಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಸಿಕ್ಕಿಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಿಂದೂಗಳಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಹಿಜಾಬ್ ಹಾಕಿಸುವಂತ ಕಾನೂನನ್ನು ತಂದ್ಬಿಡ್ಬೋದೇನೋ ಇವರು. ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂತ ಮಾನಸಿಕತೆಯಿಂದ ಇವತ್ತು ಸಿದ್ದರಾಮಯ್ಯ ಮತ್ತು ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರಬೇಕು. ನಿನ್ನೆ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಧ್ವಜವನ್ನ ಇಳಿಸಿದ್ರು ಅನ್ನುವಂತ ಸುಳ್ಳು ಆರೋಪಗಳನ್ನ ಸ್ವತಃ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಜನರನ್ನ ದಿಕ್ತಪ್ಪಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ನೋಡಿ.
So Neha, as you heard, there's a lot of politicking happening over this, and some netas are now fomenting further trouble, fishing in troubled waters, as it were. Tell us more about in what context did the minister say this? I mean, why is he using the opportunity to target the Congress now?
Well, Afrida, we've seen a lot of back and forth on this issue with, many people in power over here, be it in the BJP or people who hold responsible positions in the Congress. We've seen how, in fact, they have been taking jibes at each other constantly. And in the latest, let's give you a little context to this. It was only yesterday that we saw a saffron flag being hoisted in a college in Shivmoga district. While initially, there were speculations about whether the tricolour was removed and the saffron flag hoisted, the Karnataka Congress President D.K. Shivakumar also tweeted about this and said that it's rather unfortunate that, students over here are hoisting the saffron flag after taking down the tricolour. However, later, the superintendent of police of the Shivmoga district clarified that there was no tricolour over there, that it was just merely a saffron flag that was hoisted. Now, in retort to this, today you're hearing the Karnataka Energy Minister over here, Sunil Kumar, who's gone on to say that, if at all the Congress is allowed to come to power, or if the people's mandate votes the Congress to power, then we might likely see even Hindus being asked to wear hijabs. They may bring in a law. Now, he's also given a little context to this, stating several ordinances in the past, where we've seen, be it the anti-conversion bill or be it, in fact, the cow slaughter bill. And he's quoted many of these instances where the Congress has supported or, not supported these movements. And the larger context over here, Afrida, being the fact that, to make such statements, such loose statements at a time when the state is already mired in controversy over such a big issue. Very careless over there, but we'll really have to hope that better sense prevails amongst both the Congress and the BJP leaders over here in the state of Karnataka.
I have Mr. Brijesh Kalapa of the Congress party joining us on the phone line. Mr. Kalapa, it's unfortunate that while the ruling party or the party in power should have put in all efforts to control the ground situation, they're taking jibes at other political parties. And this statement coming from Karnataka Energy Minister about how Congress is behind fomenting trouble, how do you respond?
No, it's not the Congress which is behind fomenting trouble, it's the BJP which is behind fomenting trouble. Perhaps Mr. Sunil Kumar could explain to the people of Karnataka as to how thousands and lakhs of saffron shawls reached students overnight. So there was a build-up to all this. There were preparations made where these saffron shawls could then easily reach the students, and then they could push this agitation forward. So ultimately, you see, no state or no state government would like to have unrest and affecting students during examination time. We are already in the month of February. Now we have examinations next month and the month later. But obviously the BJP doesn't bother about these niceties. They don't want students who come out of college as outstanding students, outstanding citizens. But they'd rather have their own cadre built, and at the cost of the students' future, mind playing. Question I'd like to ask the BJP is, if you're going to ruin the students' future like this, then ruin your own children's future. Why don't senior ministers' children come and wear these shawls and go about? They don't do that. They ask the poorest of the poor, people who have absolutely no, good marks. They don't have good education. They are the people who have actually absolutely no livelihood means. They are the ones who are sent on the field, asking them to prey on these poor girls who are asking for the hijab rights. So I think it's very clear that the BJP wants to misuse students and, make a mockery of the entire system and then leave the education system in shambles.
So now the Karnataka High Court says the matter requires a larger bench. Brijesh Kalapa, we're just flashing that information. Obviously, the Karnataka High Court's intervention was sought after the hijab ban was announced. This is going to be now a legal tussle. How do you see this resolving itself? Clearly, there is no consensus. Society is bitterly divided. Polarization has reached a new low. How is your party, as a responsible political party of this country, going to address this?
See, we have always said that those constitutional means which we have accepted all the way should be the ones which present the guiding light for the future in regard to the hijab issue. Now, therefore, the courts have to decide one way or another. As far as the courts are concerned, courts have permitted advocates in the High Court and the Supreme Court to wear a hijab. Because what is the hijab ultimately? It's just a scarf which women used to wear around.
But your allies in Maharashtra does not feel the same, Mr. Kalapa. You heard Aditya Thackeray is saying uniform must be adhered to. There can be no hijabs allowed. It does not come within the ambit of the uniform. Now, how will you resolve it with your own political allies if you take this position?
No, we are taking a constitutional position. We are not bothered about our allies. We are saying let the Constitution decide. And I'm speaking of lawyers in the High Court and the Supreme Court wearing a hijab. I'm speaking of legislators in Parliament and assemblies wearing a hijab. When that is permitted, then we are not really bound by what our allies think.
But then if that leads to a backlash and people show up in saffron scarves, don't you think that the atmosphere will continue to get vitiated? Where does it stop then?
No. Ultimately, Constitution has to, reign supreme. Does the Constitution permit you to wear your janeo outside the shirt? It doesn't. Nobody wears a janeo outside the shirt. So, just like you have a saffron, wielding chief minister in Uttar Pradesh, right? So, I'm sure these girls also have the right to wear a hijab.
Okay, that's a fair point, but the issue is that inside the classroom, there is a rule about a uniform. There are many who feel that in order to avoid any kind of assertion of religious identity, one should stick to uniform. That's the whole idea of having a uniform in schools. Once you grow up and you go out into the adult world, you are free to wear what you want. That's one side of the argument, but I really appreciate, Mr. Kalapa, you joining us with your views on the subject.